Yeah, and when it comes to the early round, man, like I think, like I said, we've spent our time bigging up some players and also like kind of tearing down some players. And I think they're all phenomenal players. And the difference normally between a wide receiver 5 and a wide receiver 10, or a running back 12 and a running back 17 in our rankings isn't much. We're
Yeah.
really picking at things here. But one of the
Mhm.
things I noticed, Tyler, is that me or you both, we did not include quarterbacks or tight ends. And this is a talking point for a lot of people in leagues where in years past, before when the quarterback was 6 points, we saw quarterbacks were the most valuable position in fantasy at one point. And
Mhm.
then over the last, 3-4 years, we've seen tight ends start to go a lot higher, right? With Travis Kelce, it started kind of with Gronk, and then Travis Kelce really pushed up the board as a first round tight end in a lot of leagues. We were taking like Mark Andrews and George Kittle in the second round at this time last year or 2 years ago. So when we talk about early round tight end or quarterback, let's start at the quarterback position first, Tyler. There's a lot of guys that can go in the first round. You got your Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, even guys like, obviously Pat Mahomes too, but obviously new entries in there when you're talking about Anthony Richardson and maybe even CJ Stroud. How are you addressing this early quarterback? Because I get a lot of questions on this, especially in your 12-team leagues.
Yeah, so for me, it's just I don't mind taking an early quarterback, but I have to. If you're going to take an early quarterback, you really need to hit on them being like over 20 fantasy points per game type of players. Really, they need to be like a top 3 player, a top 3 quarterback. Honestly, maybe even the quarterback one. So like I love Patrick Mahomes. I think that he can do it. I don't mind taking Patrick Mahomes, but really I don't usually take him because just everything has to go right for him to be the quarterback one because he doesn't have, 10 rushing touchdown upside. Like a guy like my favorite this year is Jalen Hurts. Like if I'm taking a quarterback early, I want the guy to have rushing upside because we've just seen that where your top, even last year, I want to say in points per game, Justin Fields and Kyler Murray were inside the top 10. You had Lamar, Josh Allen, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, and Kyler Murray all inside the top 10. What do they all have? The rushing upside. So if I'm going to take a guy early on, it has to be a guy that I truly believe can be the quarterback one. So I think that Lamar could potentially do it. I think that Josh Allen can do it. I think Jalen Hurts can do it, and Anthony Richardson. I don't want CJ Stroud. If I miss out on those guys, then I typically go with like Kyler Murray or Jaden Daniels. Yes, Jaden Daniels later in the draft. So if I'm going to go with one early, I really have to be all in and believe that that guy can be the quarterback one. And I think this year, I would not be shocked if Jalen Hurts is it. So he's my favorite target in the first round or early rounds of drafts, and then it'd be Anthony Richardson.
I've always been kind of a guy that waited on quarterbacks historically. I feel like you can find value, and that's the one position where I feel like if you can find a difference maker, you can make up for it. And when it comes to early quarterbacks, I typically miss out this season specifically on your Josh Allen, your Jalen Hurts, your Lamar Jacksons, your Pat Mahomes. And it's not for the fact that I don't think they're going to be great. It's just I think the league is full of good quarterback play now and undervalued quarterback play. And that was evident last year when we saw it had to have been a historic year for quarterback injuries last year with
Yeah, I'm
all the
pretty
starting
sure it
quarterbacks
was.
that
Yeah.
went down. And when you look at guys that go a little bit later, I think you can find a ton of value this year and a ton of safety in players that have been top 12 at the position before. You mentioned guys like, Dak Prescott or Jordan Love or Brock Purdy. To me, in 10-team leagues, those are very capable quarterbacks that go several rounds later. And maybe they don't carry the quarterback one upside, but most of those guys were around the top 5 last season. And albeit there was an injury, it was an injury-prone season. But where I see a lot of value is even in the quarterback 2 range, especially in your 12-team leagues, or if we're even talking super flex, I see a lot of upside in the QB2 range. You mentioned already a player, Jaden Daniels, is a player that has top 5 upside to me with the rushing. We talk about Trevor Lawrence, who's a guy we were taking as a top 8 quarterback last year. He's fallen down to the mid-range of the QB2s. We also have consistent players who have been top 10 quarterbacks. You talk about Jared Goff, you talk about Kirk Cousins coming off of their injuries, Kirk Cousins coming off the injury, and Jared Goff obviously coming off a strong season. those are guys who have been top 12 to 10 quarterbacks in their career. So I look at value picks in that round, and I think that there's more depth at the quarterback position than there ever has been. I mean, we got Aaron Rodgers going outside of the top 16 quarterbacks taken. We got Geno Smith and Russell Wilson, two quarterbacks who have played well in the past, going outside the top 20. I think there's a ton of value at the quarterback position this year. So I don't mind waiting to get your quarterback, whether it's a single QB league or a super flex league.